eastern China faced a serious weather crisis as Typhoon Dana barreled in from the western Pacific. Although flooding remained a concern in some places, it was the storm's powerful winds that caused the most widespread damage, halting transportation, damaging infrastructure, and prompting emergency warnings throughout the region. Among the hardest-hit areas were Zhejiang and Fujian provinces, which suffered the most intense wind-related destruction. Dana developed over the open waters of the western Pacific before rapidly intensifying into a dangerous storm system. It first made landfall in Taiwan on the 6th of July, bringing destructive winds that swept across the island and caused significant damage. Despite weakening slightly after crossing Taiwan, Dana maintained its intensity as it moved into the Taiwan Strait and approached the southeastern coast of mainland China. On the 8th of July, the storm made a second landfall near the city of Taiju in Jiang province. Although it had been downgraded to a tropical storm by then, Dana's wind field remained broad and aggressive, bringing strong, sustained winds and even stronger gusts as it pushed inland. Across rural and urban areas alike, violent winds toppled trees, tore down power lines, and caused structural damage to buildings and homes. The storm's wind strength varied depending on location, but its impact was felt widely along the southeastern coast, including parts of Xiang province. Coastal regions like Taizhou, Wenzhou, and Ningbo experienced the strongest gusts, which peaked at around 145 kilometers per hour. Sustained winds in those areas ranged between 80 and 90 kilometers per h, enough to knock over trees, snap utility poles, and tear off rooftops and windows. In smaller towns and suburban areas, broken glass, twisted metal signs, and bent traffic lights were a common sight. In Fujian province, cities like Fuzhou and Xiamen endured wind speeds ranging from 60 to 80 kilometers per h, with gusts reaching up to 110 kilometers per h. Even though this region wasn't at the center of the storm, the wide reach of Dana's wind system caused significant issues, including temporary blackouts, blocked roads, and transit delays. As Dana continued its path northeast, the cities of Shanghai and southern Jiangsu also felt its lingering effects. Wind speeds in these areas were lower, between 50 and 70 kilometers, but still strong enough to halt ferry operations, pause construction projects, and shut down sensitive facilities out of caution. To manage the threat, the China Meteorological Administration, CMA, issued yellow and orange wind warnings for multiple provinces along the coast. These alerts triggered widespread emergency measures, suspension of ferry and shipping routes across the Taiwan Strait and nearby ports, shutdown of construction sites, particularly high-rise scaffolding projects vulnerable to strong winds, temporary closure of rail lines and airports in cities like Hangzhou, Fuzhou, and Ningbo due to low visibility and debris hazards. Preventive shutdowns by power companies in high-risk zones to limit infrastructure damage. The maritime industry was particularly affected. The Ministry of Transport ordered all smaller vessels to return to port and halted shipping activities until winds subsided. Coastal regions also experienced dangerous sea conditions, but wind-related damage remained the top concern. Most of the destruction from Dana was caused by high-speed winds. Thousands of trees were uprooted, windows shattered, and rooftops torn off buildings. In cities like Taizhou, gusts bent streetlights and blew down large billboards. Lightweight structures such as farm shelters, market tents, and coastal fishing stations were among the most vulnerable. Rural areas saw widespread power outages due to fallen trees and flying debris damaging electrical lines. Repair crews were dispatched quickly once wind conditions allowed, and electricity was restored in most locations within 48 hours. Urban recovery teams focused on clearing roads, stabilizing infrastructure, and ensuring public safety before reopening public spaces. Meteorologists pointed out that Dana's wind field was unusually large for a storm of its classification, putting regions far beyond the direct landfall zone at risk. This broader reach significantly increased the storm's overall impact. Officials also noted the growing strength and unpredictability of recent typhoons. In response, China has been investing in improved storm tracking systems, stronger infrastructure, and rapid disaster response units. These efforts showed results during Dana, as emergency communications and restoration work happened faster than in previous years. Typhoon Dana's landfall in July 2025 was marked not by extreme flooding, but by fierce, far-reaching winds that tore through eastern China. From Zhejiang and Fujian to parts of Shanghai and Jiangsu, the storm left behind a trail of broken infrastructure and disrupted lives. With gusts approaching 145 kilometers per h, Dana served as a strong reminder of the threat posed by high-wind storms, especially as typhoon seasons grow increasingly volatile. Authorities remain on high alert for future wind events in the weeks to come.